Today is Sunday, May 12th. Happy Mother's Day, and this is your farm garden tour. So this is where we planted new potatoes last week. Nothing has poked its head up yet. Not much to talk about there. We did plant quite a bit. The entire garden is not fully planted yet, but here we have our vine crops. We've got honeydew melon, cantaloupe. There's a zucchini hill out there. We've got a rattlesnake watermelon hill. We've got two of the blacktail watermelon hills and some different kinds of squash. I think we've got about 4 different kinds of squash out there. This area is currently blank. I did plant 2 eggplants here on the margin of the garden, if you will. There's one at the very end as well, and then put one in the very that would be the southeast corner and another in the southwest corner. The eggplants, if they produce, sure, we'll go ahead and eat them, but we planted them as a sacrificial plant. They apparently attract potato bugs, so hopefully the potato bugs, if there are any this year, will be attracted to those eggplants and not our potatoes. And we'll let them feast on the eggplants and hope that they do in fact leave our potatoes alone. In here we have celery. These little guys, they are super duper tiny, but I think we've got 24 celeries in there, and then we've got some Brussels sprouts after that. And here comes King Kong Dog to squash the celery. We've got megaton cabbage here, and then a couple of different kinds of cabbage. All the way down on the very end are peppers. So this is our brassica row. There's also cauliflower and broccoli in here. Everything's looking kind of sad. Most of it's in shock from having been transported. The peppers look pretty good. They are about 2 or 3 times the size of the peppers that we planted last year. So I think it was a great thing that we started the peppers earlier this year. I'm on the fence about the tomatoes. I feel like they grew too tall, too leggy, but I need to preface that by saying that we realized after it was too late that some of the potting, the seed starting mix that we bought didn't have any fertilizer in it, didn't have any nutrients in it. So we did fertilize, but I think that some of our stuff was stunted just because there wasn't anything in the soil for those little seedlings to thrive on in the very beginning. This row has onions in it. You can't really see the onions because they are about, each onion is about about the width of a strand of hair. I don't know how that's going to turn out. First time I've ever started onions from seed. Would be great if they took off, but it is what it is. This is Why the F Not Farms, and we planted it because why the F not? And if it takes off, fantastic. If not, well, we will either try something different next year or eliminate them altogether. These panels here are completely empty. These are going to be our potatoes and bush beans. This panel here has got beans and peas. We do have some that are starting to poke up through the ground. Let me see if I can find some to show you. Right there. We got some little peas and beans starting to make their way through the soil. Here's a nice little example. So those guys are doing okay. Weather looks like it's going to hold, which is fantastic. Today was 75. Yesterday was about 75 as well. It's starting to cool off a little bit today, but we should not dip below the low to mid 40s over the next few weeks. So everything should be okay. Again, it's so early in the season. Just to give you a point of reference, today is the 12th of May. Last year, we felt like we were planting about a week earlier. Most times in this region, we were putting the garden in on Memorial Day weekend, so the very last weekend of May. So we're about 3 weeks ahead of what some consider normal. We are 2 weeks ahead of where we planted the garden last year. So yeah, we've got plenty of time to get the rest of the stuff in. And if we do have a late frost or freeze, and if we lose some things out here, we've got plenty of time to replant them. This area down here is going to be cucumbers. Have not started those. We just totally ran out of time. Yeah, time is the enemy. That is a birdhouse gourd. I'm so super stoked to see how that produces, and it should trellis up. Tried to start some of those last year and they just did not take. This year planted some, waited for about 3 weeks, they still didn't take, and so we sprouted them in a paper towel and finally got one. So we'll see. Tomatoes, some of these guys look pretty rough, but again, it's kind of the shock of going from being in a protected location. We had wheeled these outside to let them get used to natural sunlight and wind and things like that, but still, I mean, you can kind of see how brisk the wind is, and these guys are tender tender little tomatoes. They will probably struggle for the next week, maybe 2, until they really get their footing in the soil. They get some sun, they get some water, they start tapping into that fertilizer and the nutrients that we put in the soil, and then they'll start to take off. So yeah, that's what we got. We've got these 2 rows here of tomato, and third row, we left this open. Anything could happen. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted as far as what's going to happen there. We've got a couple of different ideas. There's the worker folks. Say hi, worker folks. All right. Here is another example of some of the peas coming up. And we got the fence up. This is 6-foot fence. And again, we got 6-foot fence primarily for pole beans, because last year we had 6-foot fence, but only 6-foot posts. These are 8-foot posts, and we had probably 2 feet, maybe 3 feet at the top that just flopped and flopped because of the weight of the beans. So again, this is kind of modular gardening. This year we planted more peas than pole beans, but next year, if we need to flip the script and plant more pole beans to put those up, then we'll have the tall fence and we'll be able to do that. So this over here is what we have left to plant. This whole tray here is flowers. There's coleus with the multicolor leaves here, and we've got Johnny Jump Ups here, Snapdragons here. These were both a mix, so I'm not sure what colors they're gonna actually come out to be. This is a ruffled feathers pansy, and these are salvias over here and over here. They didn't take off real great, but we will put them in dirt and see what they do. We've got more onions that we need to put in the ground. These are primarily herbs. You can see we've got basil and lovage, thyme, nasturtium there on the end. We've got our marigolds that we'll be plugging in our brassica rows. Some Greek oregano. So yeah, some dill there on the end. So there's still a good amount of work to be done, but this is where we are today. It is May 12th, and we're off to the races. It's a little foggy looking today. Apparently there are more wildfires up in Canada, and that smoke has been kind of hanging in the air all day today. We did have an amazing show of northern lights, the Aurora Borealis, both on Friday night and Saturday night. I'll tack on some video. The video is going to look best if you're in a dark room while you're watching it. If you've got ambient light, it's not going to be as impressive. And some of the still photos I thought were absolutely gorgeous. So I will tack some of those on to the end of this video. And until next time, take care.